KJA Global Channel. Facts hold the weak. The wise handle the sources. Understanding the root. Reshaping the system. Rebuilding a nation. Series 1. The Surface and the Depth. Episode 4. How events are constructed from facts. 3 things are reported within the same hour, in the same district. A dispute at a checkpoint. A fire at a warehouse. And an argument between 2 local commanders, captured on audio. By evening, all 3 are being described online as one event. A coordinated collapse. A deliberate operation. Proof that an entire authority has lost control. The conclusion travels faster than the question that should have come first. Are these 3 reports actually connected? If they are treated as one event when they are not, 3 separate situations are flattened into one accusing story. Each may involve different people, different causes, and different responsibilities. Yet whoever is named as responsible for the supposed event may be forced to answer for conduct they had nothing to do with. But the opposite error is also dangerous. If the incidents are genuinely connected and we treat them as isolated, we may miss the coordination that matters. We may fail to protect people, interrupt a wider operation, or understand a developing threat. False bundling creates guilt without evidence. False separation can conceal a real pattern. Either error can cost trust, justice, and lives. This is why the boundary of an event is not a small technical detail. It is a moral and analytical decision. In Episode 2, we established that a fact is not simply what is repeated. It is a claim about reality that has been verified within stated limits. In Episode 3, we separated fact, testimony, feeling, interpretation, and moral conviction. Now we take the next step. We ask how separate facts and testimonies become one bounded event. Reality is not imaginary. Things happen whether or not anyone reports them. When we say that an event is constructed, we do not mean that the occurrence itself was invented. We mean that any public account must decide where the event begins, where it ends, what belongs inside it, and what does not. Those boundaries are human judgments. They can be transparent and evidence-based. Or they can be careless, strategic, or emotionally driven. A fact is one verified claim about a specific occurrence. An event is a disciplined grouping of one or more facts under a defined boundary. That boundary begins with 4 questions. What time period does this event cover? What place does it cover? Which actors are actually verified? And what conduct, specifically, occurred? Time. Place. Actors. Conduct. These are the 4 anchors of an event. But disciplined construction requires 3 additional safeguards. State what is included and excluded. State what evidence supports any claimed connection. And state what remains unknown. Return to the 3 reports. The checkpoint dispute has its own timeframe, its own parties, and its own conduct. The warehouse fire involves a different location and, at the time of reporting, no confirmed connection to the checkpoint. The recorded argument overlaps in time and geography, but overlap is not proof of common cause. 3 verified occurrences may stand near one another. That does not automatically make them one event. Closeness is not connection. Sequence is not causation. Similarity is not coordination. Based only on what is verified, there are 3 nearby facts and 0 confirmed links. Calling them one coordinated collapse is not a factual description. It is an interpretation presented in the costume of a fact. Why does this happen so easily? Because one dramatic story is easier to feel, easier to remember, easier to share, and easier to blame. 3 incidents in one district on one day may sound uncertain and untidy. A coordinated collapse sounds complete. It gives fear a shape, anger a target, and a headline a force. This is not always deliberate deception. Under pressure, the mind searches for coherence. It closes gaps before the evidence has closed them. It mistakes a compelling narrative for a demonstrated connection. But coherence is not verification. A story can be emotionally powerful, internally consistent, and entirely wrong about which facts belong together. For traps commonly distort an event boundary. The first is the proximity trap. Two occurrences happen near each other, so we assume one produced the other. Proximity is a reason to investigate. It is not proof of linkage. The second is the identity trap. Similar clothing, language, location, or political reputation is treated as proof that separate actors belong to the same organization or command. Identity must be established, not inferred from appearance or association. The third is the motive trap. A suspected motive is used to bind facts together before the responsible actors are verified. Motive may help explain a proven connection. It cannot manufacture one. The fourth is the scale trap. A district-level incident is described as a national event, or a brief confrontation is stretched across weeks, until the claim becomes larger than the evidence. The scale of the conclusion must never exceed the scope of the verified facts. There is also a danger in the opposite direction. Connected conduct can be fragmented into isolated incidents so that no pattern becomes visible. One abusive checkpoint may be an isolated event. The same conduct repeated under the same command, across several locations, may be evidence of a connected operation or a wider pattern. A disciplined analyst resists both temptations. Do not merge without evidence. Do not separate in order to avoid evidence. So, how do we test a claimed connection? Look for evidence of direct interaction between the actors. Look for shared communication or command. Look for logistical continuity, coordinated timing, common preparation, or conduct in which one occurrence depends upon another. Seek independent corroboration. Test alternative explanations. No single signal automatically proves coordination. Shared methods may be common. Repeated names may refer to different people. A recording may be authentic but unrelated. Evidence gains strength when independent lines converge and plausible alternatives weaken. The practical tool is a neutral event statement. Neutral does not mean morally indifferent. It does not mean sanitizing violence, concealing responsibility, or replacing clear conduct with vague language. It means describing what is verified without smuggling a verdict into the description. State the time frame precisely. Not recently, but the verified window. State the place precisely. Not somewhere in the region, but the location the evidence actually covers. State the actors by what is confirmed. Do not assign an identity, affiliation, or chain of command that the evidence has not established. State the conduct in plain terms. What was said? What was done? What changed? Then state what is included. State what is excluded. State any claimed link and the evidence supporting it. State the unknowns. And state the present confidence level. For the checkpoint dispute, a disciplined statement might say: within the verified time window, at the identified checkpoint, two confirmed parties engaged in a verbal dispute and temporarily interrupted passage. This account includes only the conduct supported by the available recording and corroborating reports. It does not establish a connection to the warehouse fire or the commander's recorded argument. The cause of the dispute, the wider affiliations of everyone present, and any link to other incidents remain unclear. Notice what this statement achieves. It does not pretend that nothing serious happened. It does not erase risk. And it does not claim more than the evidence can carry. It can be defended today. Corrected tomorrow. expanded if new evidence arrives, or narrowed if a claim is contradicted. That capacity for revision is a strength. An event boundary is not sacred. It is provisional, accountable, and open to evidence. When the boundary changes, the public record should show what changed, why it changed, and which earlier conclusions no longer stand. A correction does not weaken disciplined analysis. Concealing the need for correction does. In urgent situations, careful bounding does not require waiting for perfect knowledge before protecting people. Immediate actions can be separated from unverified conclusions. De-escalate the checkpoint. Respond to the fire. Preserve the audio. Protect vulnerable identities. Investigate possible connections. Act on the verified risk. Do not convert suspicion into collective accusation. This is the balance between urgency and integrity. Protection can begin before causation is settled. Public blame should not. Use the event boundary card. First, write the exact event claim. Second, list the verified component facts and the confidence attached to each one. Third, define the time, place, actors, and conduct. Fourth, name the evidence for any claimed connection. Fifth, list what is included and what is excluded. Sixth, record the unknowns and credible alternative explanations. Seventh, identify the immediate safe action that the verified facts justify. And eighth, state what new evidence would expand, narrow, or overturn the boundary. This tool matters differently across public roles. A citizen should not combine several alerts into one accusation merely because they appeared in the same feed. A journalist should distinguish confirmed linkage from suspected coordination and label each clearly. A community leader should resist blaming an entire group for conduct tied only to identified individuals. A mediator should know which parties belong in the immediate dispute and which have been pulled into it by assumption. And an institution should preserve timelines, sources, corrections, and reasons for every change in the event record. Get the event boundary right, and everything downstream becomes stronger. You can ask whether this bounded event is isolated or part of a pattern. You can investigate the condition that made it likely. You can identify the incentive that rewarded the conduct. You can examine the structure that sustained it. And you can trace the deeper source without explaining several unrelated incidents through one convenient theory. Get the boundary wrong, and the entire diagnosis can fail. A false bundle produces a false event. A false event produces a false pattern. A false pattern produces a false explanation. And a false explanation sends action toward the wrong target. The boundary is not bureaucracy. It is the first architecture of accuracy. Bounding an event carefully is not about caring less. It is about making sure that every warning, mediation, accusation, investigation, and policy lands on what actually happened, at the scale it happened, and upon the people genuinely responsible. The undisciplined mind sees several facts and rushes to build one story. The disciplined mind asks what joins them, what separates them, and what the evidence is strong enough to say. Facts give us verified points. Event boundaries show which points responsibly belong together. Only then are we ready to diagnose cause. Next, the fact-to-source ladder. How a bounded event becomes a disciplined inquiry into pattern, condition, incentive, structure, and source. Beyond facts. Handle the sources. Watch next. Subscribe. Learn deeply. Think critically. Act responsibly. KJA Global Channel. Knowledge justifies authority.